welcome back to the Adult Algorithm, the How to Adult podcast with your host, Jasmine Johnson. Today we have a very special episode. We have our very first guest on, and I'm very excited for you all to hear about it. But before we get into the podcast, I just want to talk about this week's shirt. This week's shirt is very special and hits home for me. It is for Cameron Boyce, who we all know from the TV show Jessie and the movies Descendants. He was always a star that wanted to put so much good into the world. So when he passed away from unexpected death from epilepsy, we knew as fans that we needed to carry on his legacy. So his family and friends started the Cameron Boyce Foundation after he passed away. And these shirts, right around the death of his anniversary on July 6th, it was 1 year, sold these shirts to create donations for the Cameron Boyce Foundation. Not only was it for the Cameron Boyce Foundation, but he also started a foundation called Wielding Peace for gun violence awareness before he passed away. So they're also carrying out that legacy. That is what this is from. This is Dove Cameron's tattoo that she got for him. I know for me, I also wanted to get a tattoo in honor of him, so I got the Wielding Peace logo right on my back. I'm going to insert a photo here. And if you would like to support Cameron's family and them trying to carry out his legacy, you can also help them by donating to SUDEP, which is for sudden unexpected death in epilepsy in people. And that is what Cameron passed away from. So if you want to donate to any of those foundations, all the links will be below. And let's get into the video. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Adult Algorithm, the How to Adult podcast, and I'm your host, Jasmine Johnson. Today we have such an exciting episode. We have our very first guest on, and you guys are going to love her and love what she has to say, and I'm really excited for you all to get to know her and kind of about why I chose her as my first guest on this podcast. Before we jump right into it, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who's been so supportive since we put out our very first episode. It's gone absolutely amazing. The feedback has been awesome, and I just have zero words for how awesome all my friends and family have been through this time, just sharing and liking and commenting and participating in everything on our social media. So keep it up, and if you want to keep going with us on our journey, again, the social medias are all at the Adult Algorithm. The phrase of this week's episode is role model. And why I chose role model this episode is because, one, our guest is a huge role model to me, and two, we've all gone through some really hard times and haven't been able to get out of them alone. So those people that have meant the world to you, that you go to advice for, your role models, make sure you say thank you to them. And I can't wait for you to meet mine. Hi, DeSousa.
Hi, Jazz.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So it only seemed right to have you as my first guest because if anyone knows me, then they could probably guess who my first guest would be on this podcast. But for the listeners that don't know me, hopefully they'll get it throughout this interview and realize why I chose you for our first guest. So before we jump in, do you kind of want to just introduce yourself?
Sure. I am Courtney DeSousa. I was Jasmine's cheerleading coach and Italian teacher for a short time. I teach Spanish and Italian at high school. I used to work in Warwick for 12 years, and now I currently work in North Kingston, and I just teach Spanish.
Yes.
No longer coaching. No longer.
She's retired.
My first fall, not coaching, which is so weird.
That's so weird. Well, thank you for coming on. I'm so excited. Yay, this will be fun. So, you have always been kind of, for me, I know throughout my 4 years of high school, you were my biggest influence. There's no question to that, like my biggest role model. And even for the past 7 years. So when I got out of high school, and if I still needed something, you were just a text or a phone call away. So I really appreciate you being that for me. But
that long? Wow.
Yeah, I know. Every student that I've met of yours has always said like you were their favorite Spanish teacher, or even like when I was in high school, everyone would say like you're the best, and then even students I met from your new high school through like if I was working or if I met them at like a project or something, they would always say you're the best. Can you kind of tell us where where you learned to become such a great influence from?
Oh my God. I I don't know. I didn't expect to be like that at all when I became a teacher. I just knew when I was in high school, I really had fun in Spanish class and I really related to the teacher because they were always like the laid back but fun and hardworking teacher that would make jokes but also be firm and fun and serious at the same time. And like I really looked up to them, so I knew that's something I wanted to do. And I also thought, okay, I definitely want to teach high school because they're older, they'll remember you. Like I felt like with little kids, sometimes you don't always remember your teachers unless they really stand out. But
Mm-hmm.
when you're older, you can like form connections. And I, this is gonna sound crazy, but I do feel like teaching high school keeps me younger because I know what's going
Always.
on with even coaching, like with the lingo and the
Yep.
music and stuff like that. And even though I don't want to admit it, I'm 35. Even though I'm 35, I still
Whoa.
feel like I know things that other 35-year-olds like have no clue about
Oh,
because
totally.
they don't have high school. And I
Oh
just
yeah.
feel like it's that connection. I like that connection.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You always used to say like, what does that mean? Or like even after I graduated, you text me and be like, what does this mean?
Yeah, just the
That's
other day I asked you if Bitmoji was still
oh
cool
yeah.
because all these teachers are making Bitmoji classrooms and I didn't want to make one or use them if my students thought that it was just like so last year or
Yeah.
so. So I wanted to know if it was still something I should be using to
And
keep
I
them
said
engaged.
yes. Yay,
Yeah.
awesome. So far in your teaching, so how many years have you been teaching altogether?
Mm, since 2007, so 13. This is
Wow.
my 13th.
Lucky number
No, yeah,
13.
yeah, that's 20. Yes, yes, yes.
Wow, that's
Or
crazy.
unlucky because we're in a pandemic.
Hey, that's my lucky number. So
Yeah, I
hi,
started teaching when I was 21
wow.
and I lied to my classes and always told them I was 23 or 25 for
Oh
like the
yeah.
first 5 years because they were just 17 and I was 21 and
Yeah.
I felt they weren't going to respect me unless they knew I was older.
Yeah.
But they still, it was a struggle in the beginning.
Yeah. You got through it. You totally got through it.
Hmm.
So throughout the 13 years, what has been your biggest lesson through teaching? Like what has being a teacher taught you?
So many things. But the biggest one, I would say, don't judge a book by its cover. Like students come in and you might look at a student and think they have it really good or they have
Hmm.
it really bad or they love you or they hate you or their
Yeah.
life, you never know what's going on in their life. And I think I'm always surprised by the
Yeah.
end of the year. I thought this girl was going to be such a pain, never want to be in class, want to go to the bathroom the whole period, or never want to talk to me, because their face would just be stone faced when they
Hmm.
come in on the first day. They didn't like my activity. But then you realize like halfway through the year that's the girl that needed you the most, or that's they surprise you or they write you a letter that
Hmm.
help them get through the day, and you just never know because they don't show it necessarily. They're not going to come out and tell you, but those are my favorite like moments as a teacher because I
Yeah.
just nothing can compare to that.
Yeah. Oh.
That's like my biggest thing is that when you least expect it. And even just today, a student came up to me and told me she missed me, and she
Oh.
was in my advisory. She was in my class last 2 years ago, and she would always want to leave advisory. And I'm like, I really want to spend 5 minutes with you. Can you
Yeah.
stay here for today? And just the fact that she came up and said she missed school, she missed me, it felt really good because we actually had our battles. Like,
Right.
we had some talks in the hallway and told her she needs to put her phone away. Like, there's so many little things. And, that moment just like makes up for everything, all the struggles.
Yeah. I left my advisory to see you like almost every day, so.
I miss
Oh,
those days.
I know. It's so crazy. So what has been the atmosphere so far throughout the coronavirus and everything? Like, what is it like being a teacher during this time?
Well, even though we hadn't been in a building for 6 months since March 13th, and we went back in September, on September 14th, it felt like it was slow but fast at the same time. Like, I can't explain it. I don't know. It kind of went by fast to me because I was constantly thinking about school all summer, like thinking about what's it going to look like? Am I going back? Are kids going to actually wear masks to school? Like, what is going on? Like, I didn't know what to expect. But I have to say, after like just diving in and going back this past Monday with students, we are one of the districts in the state that are actually going back, and the students come every other day. And so let's say I have a 30 kid class, just for example. I have 15 in front of me and 15 on Google Meet. And I'm at home, like, what do you guys think? And then I'm talking to my 15 in front of me at the same time. And then I have some kids in that at-home group that are going to be at home all year.
Right.
So it's a lot. I'm wearing a mask. They're all wearing masks. They're social distancing, that my desks are really spread apart, which is not like my classes at all. I like to do groups or circles or collaboration and games and hands-on, but we can't do any of that. But just because it's only been 4 days, I mean, I think it's going well so far. We're all nervous to get sick, but I'm trying so hard to just be calm and get whatever I can get done and be organized. But it's all screens. It's all computer time. It's a lot of like, it's not good for us. We're all staring at a screen all day, and it's a lot. So I try to give them a break. I try to say, close your computers, look up here, let's do an activity. But I also have to think about those 15 kids that are at home. But I do want to say they're not eating lunch at school. They're going home for lunch. So it's not as bad as I thought it would be.
Oh, I did not know that.
Not that I thought it was bad, but I thought kids were going to be like congregating, taking off their masks, hanging out and just being like anti-maskers. And, I had nightmares about this in the summer. Like, they're going to march with no masks. We're all going to get sick. But I'm hoping that this keeps up. It's only day 4, so it's the honeymoon stage. But that's my school. Not a lot of schools are doing that. But
I know even at URI, our professors are also wearing masks, and in a auditorium that holds 100, there can only be 50 people, and we all have to sit in desks so they're all in like rows because it's an auditorium. So we're used to sitting next to each other, but now we all have to sit 6 feet apart, and we all have to sit in a blue band. And every time we come to class, we have to wipe down our seat, and before we leave, we have to wipe down our seat. So it's
that's what we're doing. Like, we're wiping down too. Yeah. So that's another piece that is weird.
Yeah, I was gonna be nervous going back to school too, but
it's so hard too for the social aspect. I feel for the students that they have been like cooped up, and now we're in school and we're like, don't touch each other, don't go near each other, face forward, don't walk in their bubble. Like, it's just, no one really is. How Spanish class and Italian and French is like a mix of grades. It's not all the same grade. Yeah. So it's hard for them to make friends right now. And I feel so bad. They can't even see who they're in the class with because everyone's wearing a mask.
True.
So we played a game today to match a picture to their name to try to like get a little community. But still they don't know each other's names, and I just feel so bad.
That's really smart though. See, like taking that like first step to kind of like start to get back into the swing of things, but doing it with modifications, that's a really good idea. Doing that matching game. Oh, you can't play Cambio anymore.
I know, although they don't like to move, so it's fine.
Oh, so for my next question, I mean, we were all asked when we're younger, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Did you always know that you wanted to be a teacher?
I when I was little, my mom ran a daycare, and she still does actually, in our home. So I was always around kids, and of course I was like the daycare teacher's daughter. So I was always like, I'm the teacher. You guys are my and my mom actually put up a chalkboard down in the daycare, and I used to write on it all the time. I used to practice writing my name, and then I would just pretend like they were my students. So I knew I wanted to teach, but when I was little, I thought I wanted to maybe teach elementary school.
Oh.
And when I got to like maybe 8th grade and 9th grade, when I finally met my Spanish teachers, I was like, this is it. I loved it. Like I just loved it so much. I knew I wanted to do it. But it was not easy learning another language and then being confident in it. It was one of the hardest things I had to do.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, definitely. Like even when I was taking French and Italian, like even though they're like similar, but like I don't know why I just can't catch a grip on it. So like when I was supposed to study abroad in the spring, that was something I was really nervous about because I know the basics, but it's still so hard to grasp everything.
It is. It's really hard, and you have to really immerse yourself. Like you have to watch TV and the language. You have to listen to music in the language, travel the country. Just at every moment, I had to focus on it because if I didn't, I just felt like I was never going to learn it. And then you just have to make mistakes.
Yeah,
that's like the biggest thing. You have to not be afraid to make mistakes. Laugh at yourself, which is something I was so bad at in the beginning. I was always so nervous to make a mistake. And I'll never forget all the mistakes I made when I was studying in Mexico. And I was so embarrassed, but I'll never forget those moments. And I'll never make those mistakes again.
Yeah. That's something that you do with your students too. Do you guys watch like shows in Spanish?
We did. Yeah, we watched a few, but we actually did. I haven't watched them in a while because now with like curriculum and everything is different, but we did. We watched a show where a woman travels to or a man, I think we are the person, and we go on the trip. It's like we're virtually going on a trip.
Yeah.
And we go to Spain, and then we watched another one about like some friends like people in an apartment in Spain too.
Okay, I remember like coming into your Spanish classes when I didn't have class, and I would just like watch it. I'm like, what is this? But I bet it helped in the end, so that's really cool.
Yeah, a lot of kids said they liked it. It wasn't everybody's favorite, but a lot of kids said they liked it and they learned a lot from it. And actually, when we went to Spain one year with students, they actually said, oh my God, this is where, Mercedes went to the cafe, and this is where this happened, and they remembered the spots. So that was kind of cool.
Oh, that's
actually
cool.
M. Carn. Carn, shout out.
Shout out M. Carn. I was just thinking about that. Oh my goodness. I'll never forget the Snapchats I got from that trip.
Oh God.
Oh, that's awesome. So we're all asked, like, again, like when we're younger, like, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Where did you see yourself like by now, and what has been like the differences from where you saw yourself to where you are right now?
Oh my God. I was 25? I mean, I was never the kind of person or girl growing up to like envision my 10-year plan or my 5-year plan to be like married and kids and settled down, all this stuff. I was never ever that person. I was always just kind of focused on personal goals, and I never realized it until now, like looking back now that you're asking. And I never like looked at like marriage and kids as a goal. I don't know. That's just me. I know a lot of people are different. A lot of people envision their wedding since they're like 5 years old, and they're like already have their wedding book made. But I was never that person, and so I just always envisioned being a teacher. I always wanted to get out of, not, no offense to undergrad, but I always wanted to get out of undergrad because I wanted to make my own rules, my own deadlines, my own, you know, once you're a teacher, you have a lot of, you know, power in a way, but not like power. I'm thinking of a word, but you have the ability to make your own decisions. And I just was so ready for that once I was a senior in college. I was so ready for that. So I wanted that. And then I definitely wanted to establish myself as at a school. I remember student teaching, and a teacher there in the copy room said, "Oh, it's my 5th year. I've been here 5 years." And I thought that was so cool. I was like, 5 years? Everybody must know her. Everybody must, like, you know, she already has a name for herself, a reputation. I hated the awkward stage of the, like, first year teacher when no one knew I was a teacher. Nobody knew who I was. And, like, teachers would ask me for my hall pass. And I was like, "I work here." But I don't know. I really don't know how to answer that. I think I just pictured being in a school for a while and, like, being established, and then, you know, just, I never envisioned being a cheer coach. I was a cheer coach for, you know, like, for PAL, for like Edgewood Eagles for a little bit when I was in high school. And then I just never ever envisioned, and then I did Cranston East JV a little bit, but I never envisioned having a varsity team. That was something that, you know, the
state championship winning.
Yeah, the principal really wanted me to do, and I just knew how much work it was to actually make a team grow to be a championship team, and I was just not ready for it. But eventually I was. But it just, you know, I don't know. I didn't really plan too much after I became a teacher. I just took everything that came at me, like coaching and being a class advisor. And, like, those memories were, like, some of the best memories I made as a teacher.
Oh.
So,
yeah.
I don't know.
Speaking of cheer, I have a cheer question for you. So I know, because you were such a great coach, that I want to start coaching. And I mean, I love it now. Now I'm, like, addicted, and I love choreographing and everything. And in the in the short 4 to 5 years that I've been doing it, like, it's already impacted me so much, like, especially being at this age. But how did being a coach impact your life?
Oh God, so many ways. So many ways. You never know what it's like until you do it. You never know especially being a head coach, being the head honcho in charge, you don't know what's going to go on until things happen. You learn, just like teaching, you know, it's probably like parenting. I don't know. I don't have kids, but I think I wouldn't have survived without the help of other coaches that, like, helped me along the way. Like the old Cranston East coach, Jen, she sat down with me one day and gave me her rules, gave me her tryout material, just so many pieces of advice that I needed, because when I first started, I was kind of like, "Okay, guys, what do you want to do? What do you think, guys? You know what? Any suggestions?" And then
my gosh, no suggestions. No suggestions.
Because after a while, if you make it too free for all, then, you know, one cheerleader is the loudest and they always get what they want. Or if you make it too strict, then nobody wants to do it. So you have to meet in the middle somewhere. I think that's one of the biggest things that I learned. You have to be strict and get things done, kind of like teaching, but you also have to know when to, like, okay, let them have a little fun so they actually think it's fun. But no, if you're competitive, you still need to, you want to win. You don't want to lose. You want to win. That's the goal if you're competitive, but you don't want to beat yourself down so much to a point where you're not having fun anymore. So I don't know. I learned so much. I learned that it takes a lot of patience, a lot of repetition. It's a lot of discipline, pain. Sometimes you have to fight through pain, hopefully not too much pain. Like it's like, you know, but I mean, all the things you probably learned as a cheerleader, I learned as a coach. And I also learned that communication is really important. Parents like to know what's going on. In the beginning, I had no idea what I was doing. I would rely on the cheerleaders to tell the parents things, and then the parents would say I never told them because the cheerleader would never tell them. So parent meetings were important, and I was always really big on grades and respect and being role models in school.
Huge.
And just making sure that if you're wearing the uniform, you're representing me, you're representing your school, and you know, little kids are looking up to you. Like all the little girls and boys that looked up to you, Jazz. You were the reason why a lot of people tried out, because of who you were as a cheerleader, who you represented. So I think having those morals and values and like instilling those in the cheerleaders was really important. And, you know, your team was really the team that started everything. Like freshman year, you guys wanted it. You worked for it for 4 years. You wanted it. We had an amazing season your senior year. It was like, we had an amazing four years.
Yeah.
And even, you know, after that, you guys set the bar so high for the next team. So I don't know. So many things. There's so many things. I'm rambling. There's so many things I could say.
Yeah. Like in my first episode, I literally said it would have to take me an entire episode to talk about the effects cheer has left on me and everything, because people like look at it obviously as like not a sport, but to me it was my whole life. So when people say like, when people just brush off like something that you've worked hard for your whole life, it's just crazy. It's like
people don't know unless they're in cheer, the world, they don't get it. But thankfully Netflix and cheer like kind of showed a lot of people what it's like and how dedicated you have to be, and the beatings that you guys took, and
that was huge. I mean, I took like my wrists just started hurting watching that Netflix show again, because I was just like, oh my god, I just as much as I'd love to, but I just like coaching much better than cheerleading because I don't like to tumble. But
like, and that's another thing, like it's everything now. It's not just cheering on the sideline. It's stunting, tumbling, doing all of these things at the same time, and smiling and looking like you're enjoying it, even when you're in pain, and crowd leading, and just there's so much to it that people don't know. And you know, I loved coaching. I coached since 2012, and I just knew it was time. It was time to retire. It was time to move on. I don't know if cheer is in the future for me, but right now I'm just taking a little break.
Yeah. Like even
time to time.
Oh yeah, totally. Like I think the biggest value that I took away from cheer was, you might be the most talented person, but if you have a bad attitude or if you have a bad personality, then you're out. And I've seen it I saw it in my internship. I see it during school. I saw a kid during my internship. He was very smart, very outspoken, and really like a talented kid, but he just had such a bad attitude. And he said, "This is what I want. If you don't give it to me, then I'm leaving." And they were like, "Goodbye." Like when you don't instill those values into kids when they're younger, then that's what's going to happen. They're going to lose out on all those opportunities because they just learned how to not have a good attitude in things that they need to grow in. So
that's 100% like spot on. And that's, you know, one bad egg can ruin a whole bunch.
Yep.
So like you being a leader on the team and your co-captains, you guys set the tone for the team. Mm-hmm. You guys were, you know, so just people knew if they couldn't get away with it in front of me, they probably couldn't get away with it in front of you.
No, they definitely couldn't, because I was your eyes, I was your ears, and I don't care.
So,
Literally.
and I know. And also, like, you're just so right about that. Like, the attitude thing and the talent. Like, coaches really, if you're a great coach, you want talent, but
Yeah.
you obviously want positivity, good attitude, someone who's going to bring the team up, not push everyone down. I think that's so spot on. And look at it in professional athletes. You know, you don't want it's not as good in professional, you know, coaches sometimes let things slide in the professional world, but you just think about, you know, people, you don't want to look up to somebody, a kid looking up to somebody who's breaking the law, or somebody who just a bad role model, things like that, you know.
Exactly. Okay, so this might be kind of a tough question, but hopefully you can answer it. But when did like you realize that you had to do stuff on your own to like get it right, like to be an adult and to like just carry on with life by doing it on your own? Like when did that like moment kind of hit you?
I think it hit me when I had to start paying my own bills. I was really lucky growing up. Although my parents are divorced, my mom pretty much took care of everything while I was still at home. Except for, like, you know, my phone. Maybe she did pay my phone bill, but she's a great mom. Like, she took care of me, because I was not doing things I wasn't supposed to do. I was in college. I was, you know, working a part-time job. I was busy. I wasn't, you know, just laying around all day collecting dust. Like, if I was, I'm sure she wouldn't have done that. So she helped me out through college. She helped me out through, you know, those years, and let me kind of keep my personal money to like build up a little bit so I could eventually move out. But I think this is going to sound really funny, but when I went to the dentist, the first time I had to pay my first dental bill for a cavity, I remember looking at the price difference between the white filling and the metal filling. I said to my mother, "You paid for these white fillings for me when I was little? You're crazy." I would have been like, "No, get the metal." So I just realized, like, those responsibilities are crazy. Like, you don't realize how much everything costs until you have to pay for it yourself. And
I agree.
It adds up. I mean, you know, it adds up. And then I think that was one of the times. And then doing things on my own, I guess, I don't know. That's pretty much the biggest thing. Paying bills, and, you know, teaching and stuff. Luckily, I worked together with a lot of teachers in, you know, the schools I'm at, but you still have to do everything on your own. Like, you have to stand in front of the class when it's go time, you have to be on, and you can't, if just like coaching, if you give an inch, they take a mile. So if you let something happen to, you know, be fair, you have to make sure it doesn't happen to everyone, or it happens to, you let everyone do it, or you don't let anyone do it. So that happened a lot your years. Like, I had to really try to be fair and make sure I remember.
Because I was your favorite?
Just because, I can't say that, but just because, you know, people thought I did pick favorites, and people thought that, oh, so-and-so did this in the fall season, why can't I do it in the winter season? And I was like, so just keeping those rules, and, you know, everybody's watching you. You really got to be on your A game all the time. And that's pretty much what I realized.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So would you say your mom's your biggest influence then? Or like who's your biggest role model?
Yeah, I mean, partially my mom, because that's so cliche, but like she definitely kept me sheltered in a good way growing up from a lot of the bad stuff that, you know, goes on. And she never talked about like my dad in a bad way. She never made me think, you know, we had any less, even though like we didn't have a lot, we just had enough. And she, you know, I never knew what was going on in the world, like the, you know, news stuff, bad news or anything. And then I got older and she started telling me stories about things that I'm like, wow, I can't believe that you went through that. Or because she would never ever, you know, put her kids in a bad spot, which I actually really appreciate now as an adult. And if I ever have kids of my own, like she'll be the first person I go to for advice, her and my sister. My sister too, she has 3 kids and she is a amazing mom. So I think if anyone, it's probably the 2 of them, because they make it look so easy.
Yeah.
And they're usually really positive. My sister, she is there for me like through everything. She always has my back. Like she's that person like you call and they're like, who do we have to kill? So, you know, you have those people. Like she's one of those people and she'll always have my back. So yeah, she's definitely they're both my biggest role models.
Oh, that's nice. You're mine, so.
Thanks, Jen. You're one of mine too, actually. I have to say, I'm not just saying that because you said it, but all through high school, I always, even though I was your teacher, I did look up to you in a way that was just, I wish I was more like you when I was in high school. I always did. I always was like, wow, I wish I was more like Jasmine in high school. And I just loved how it didn't matter what group of friends you were around. You were friends with like all different like crews and you fit in. And I know you went through a lot like since high school with realizing like your self-identity and things like that. But at that time, that was the Jasmine I knew. So I really just liked how you were kind of like this. You could go to all different groups and you invited people to be your friend. You never were like pushing people out like an outcast. Yeah. And also just as a captain, you just always held yourself to such a high standard. You always were poised and professional, and you, like I said, you were the face of cheerleading for so long, and you were the reason why people wanted to try out. So I don't know. I'll always love you, and I'll always have that like connection with you, you know?
Thanks, DeSousa. Thank you.
It's true.
Yeah, you saw me go through some rough times. Literally tough. But some good times too. I mean, you literally saw me like quite literally grow up so quick, like right into like an adult, and I was ready to like get out and do my thing.
Yeah. Yep. I remember every step.
So crazy.
I know.
Okay, one last question. Okay. So what's one piece of advice that you wish you had then that you know now?
When's then?
when you were like my age. Not long ago, but like transitioning from high school into college.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing is, there's a couple of things, but the biggest thing is don't tell people your plans. Don't tell people your goals. Tell yourself and then just do it. Because people are going to give you advice as soon as you tell them your plans or something you want to do. And sometimes they don't realize that they come across like get kind of like dream crushers. Yeah. Or they're like, you know, they say something and it makes you question yourself and then you second guess it and then maybe you don't do it. Yeah. So like I just got my master's and you know, I waited a while to get it and I did Italian first and then I went back and you know, I didn't tell anybody I was really going to do it because I didn't want to hear, oh, well maybe you should do this or don't do that or try this instead or wow, you don't have your master's yet. Like I just wanted to do it and then say I did that.
Yes. You
did and I think that's one big thing that I used to always seek people's approval in my 20s and always like want validation. And now like in my 30s, I'm like, I don't need anyone else's validation except for mine and maybe my close family. That's it. And the other thing I learned when I turned 30 is you don't need to tell people your opinion about everything. Which is hard. It's hard, especially
That's so
with,
hard for me. Oh my God.
I know. But sometimes I think like I foot in mouth moments with some friends and when I was younger, and I just made comments or would let things slip out, like digs, and especially about other people's relationships and in front of both people. So like if it was a boyfriend and a girlfriend, I would say something to the guy, like, for example, make your own cheeseburger if you don't want it that way, something like that. If and
oh God, that's me. Oh no.
you know, I would realize, like, okay, maybe I don't need to butt in their relationship, or maybe I just be there for my friend, and if she ever needs me to talk, she could talk. Like, I don't need to protect her, be like a guard dog or something like that. I think you sometimes, even though you might have a lot to say to someone, you should just reel it in, think, okay, is this going to be helpful or is it going to be hurtful? And sometimes it's just not even worth it.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much it. Like, just keep your goals quiet and then do it. And then sometimes silence is the best response.
Oh, well, those are perfect. Thank you so much for doing this for me, and again, being there for me literally for the past 7 years, literally crazy. But yeah, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule too.
I know, I can't believe you wanted to pick me. Hopefully people find this engaging and interesting.
I hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast. I had an absolute blast catching up with DeSousa and, learning a little bit more about her. I didn't think that was possible, but I'm really glad I did it. And I hope you guys enjoyed as well. And again, if you want to continue with us on our journey, you can follow us at The Adult Algorithm on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify. A huge shout out to DeSousa once more, and I'm excited for the next episode to help you grow into your potential. This is Jasmine with The Adult Algorithm, signing off. Bye! Bye, YouTube!